certain fear of death, dull and oppressive, came to him. This fear quickly became poignant as he realized that it was no longer a mere matter of freezing his fingers and toes or of losing his hands and feet, but it was a matter of life and death with chances against him. So then he realized that now it has become too late to think that only his hands and feet are frozen, but now it is a matter, or it is a question of his life and death. This threw him into a panic, and he turned and ran up the creek bed along the old dim trail. And this created panic in him, and he tried to run back towards that old dim trail that he had left behind. The dog joined him behind and kept up with him. He ran blindly without intention and fear, such as he had never known in his life. This man was blindly running in his fear, and he knew nothing that where he is going, while the dog was following him also. Slowly, as he ploughed and floundered through the snow, he began to see things again. The banks of the creek, the old timber jams, the leafless aspens, and the sky. The running made him feel better. He did not shiver. Maybe if he ran on, his feet would thaw out. And anyway, if he ran far enough, he would reach camp and the boys. Without doubt, he would lose some fingers and toes and some of his face, but the boys would take care of him and save the rest of him when he got there. So when the man was running blindly, then he saw the old path, like the banks which he had crossed, then the old timber jams, the leafless aspens, the sky. Then immediately the man felt that he is feeling something warm in his body. So he thought that I should keep on running. Maybe the frozenness from my feet will thaw out. It will melt down. And if he runs in this manner, maybe he may reach the camp and the boys. In this process, he would lose some of his fingers or some of his toes or some part of his cheeks. But the boys at the camp would rescue him and somehow save the rest part of his body. And at the same time, there was another thought in his mind that he said he would never get to the camp and the boys. And it was too many miles away, that the freezing had too great a start on him, and that he would soon be stiff and dead. This thought he kept in the background and refused to consider. Sometimes it pushed itself forward and demanded to be heard, but he thrust it back and strove to the thing of other things. So on the other hand, one thought came to his mind that maybe I may not be able to reach the camp and I may fall dead and stiff, because it is too many miles still to reach over there, and the freezing had already had an effect on him, so maybe he may not be able to reach. This thought he kept in the background, thought leave this pessimistic idea. So he kept this thought in the background, and he refused that I am not considering this thought. Sometimes this idea again pushed forward, no, you may die, no, you may die. But then again he pushed it back. It struck him as curious that he could run at all on feet so frozen that he could not feel them when they struck the earth and took the weight of his body. He seemed to himself to skim along above the surface and to have no connection with the earth. Somewhere he had once seen a winged Mercury, and he wondered if Mercury felt as he felt when skimming over the earth. Now this thought always struck him and made him curious, but as he was running he could not feel the sensation of his feet that they were touching the ground. But he kept on running, and he could not even feel that his legs were carrying the weight of his body, and that they were having any connection with the earth. His thought of running until he reached camp and the boys had one flaw in it. He lacked the endurance. Several times he stumbled and finally he tottered crumpled up and fell. See, the theory that he had in mind that I will soon reach to the camp and be with the boys by running in such a way had only one error in it, one flaw in it, and that was that he had no tolerance in him. He had no patience in him. Several times he had fallen, stumbled back, and then again he stood up, again he fell. He was not shivering, and when he tried to rise, he failed. Sometimes when he was falling, he tried to rise up but could not. So he failed. He must sit and rest, he decided. Then he said to himself that I must sit and rest for some time. And the next time he would merely walk and keep on going. Again he would think, no, I must walk. So he would, in the next moment, he would just get up and start walking. As he sat and regained his breath, he noted that he was feeling quite warm and comfortable. When he sat down and tried to regain his breath, he felt that he was feeling warm and comfortable. He was not shivering, and it even seemed that a warm glow had come to his chest and trunk. And this time he was not feeling so much cold, he was not shivering. Even he felt that some warmth had come to his chest and to his trunk. And yet when he touched his nose or cheeks, there was no sensation. Running would not thaw them out, nor would it thaw out his hands and feet. Then the thought came to him that the frozen portions of his body must be extending. He tried to keep his thought down, to forget it, to think of something else. He was aware of the panicky feeling that it caused, and he was afraid of the panic. But the thought asserted itself and persisted until it produced a vision of his body totally frozen. The only thing that he could see that his cheeks were still frozen. They were not having any sensation. His nose was not having any sensation. And even his hands and feet were still frozen. And then a thought came to him that his frozen portions of the body will slowly extend and his entire body will be frozen. He tried to remove this thought from his mind, but gradually this thought took hold of him, and he could see visions that his entire body is totally frozen. This was too much, and he made another wild run along the trail. Once he slowed down to a walk, but the thought of the freezing extending itself made him run again. So this panic feeling had disturbed him a lot, so he stood up and started running wildly. In between, when he started to walk, the thought of the freezing sensation extending inside his body forced him to run again. And all the time the dog ran with him at his heels. When he fell down a second time, it curled its tail over its 4 feet and sat in front of him, facing him curiously, eager and intent. The warmth and security of the animal angered him, and he cursed it till it flattened down its ears appeasingly. This time the shivering came more quickly upon the man. When this man fell down the second time, the dog also sat beside him with his tail curling towards his 4 feet. And this time the man was quite angry to see the animal being warm all the time. And he cursed the warmthness or the warmth of that animal while the animal was flattening his ear to appease him to hear whatever he said. Now this time when he fell down, the shivering took a toll of the man. The man was quite frozen. He was losing in his battle with the frost. It was creeping into his body from all sides. The thought of it drove him on. But he ran no more than 100 feet. When he staggered and pitched headlong, it was his last panic. When he had recovered his breath and control, he sat up and entertained in his mind the conception of meeting death with dignity. Now, since the freezing sensation was covering his body from all the sides, okay, when he staggered and pitched headlong, he did what? When he started running again, he staggered. He could not control himself and he fell down headlong. This was his last panic. Then he recovered his breath and sat down and thought to himself, he entertained his mind that if I have to die, I should die in dignity. However, the conception did not come to him in such terms. His idea of it was that he had been making a fool of himself, running around like a chicken with its head cut off. Such was the simile that occurred to him. Well, he was bound to freeze anyway, and he might as well take it decently. With his newfound peace of mind came the first glimmerings of drowsiness. A good idea, he thought, to sleep off to death. It was like taking an anesthetic. Freezing was not so bad as people thought. There were lots worse ways to die. Now this man, he thought of himself that I was a fool to run like this blindly, like a chicken whose head has been cut off. This was a fool of me. And he said that he thought to himself that now it is true that I am bound to freeze anyway, and I should take it decently. I will have to die, so I will die with this decent thought in mind that I have to have a peace of mind. And immediately a drowsiness feeling occurred in him. So he said that it's better to die while sleeping. So it was like taking an anesthetic. If any doctor has given you an anesthetic, you feel sleepy or drowsiness. So he thought to himself that freezing is not so bad as many people think. There are lots of worse ways to die also. He pictured the boys finding his body next day. Suddenly he found himself with them, coming along the trail and looking for himself. And still with them, he came around a turn in the trail and found himself lying in the snow. He did not belong with himself anymore, for even then he was out of himself, standing with the boys and looking at himself in the snow. It certainly was cold, was his thought. When he got back to the States, he could tell the folks what real cold was. He drifted on from this to a vision of the old-timer on Sulphur Creek. He could see him quite clearly, warm and comfortable and smoking a pipe. Now he had a picture in front of himself that he was standing with the boys at the camp, and next day they were coming down to this area to find him. He himself was with them to find himself dead on this snow. And now at present also he did not belong to himself, because his soul had come out of it and he was standing with the boys at the camp. And then he would come the next day in order to find himself dead over here. Then he would go back to States and tell the people how cold it was there. And then his vision drifted to the man at the Sulphur Creek, who was sitting warm and comfortable and having a pipe of tobacco. "You were right, old horse, you were right," the man mumbled to the old-timer of Sulphur Creek. Now while dying he told, "You were right, you were right." And then the man drowsed off into what seemed to him the most comfortable and satisfying sleep he had ever known. And after seeing all these things and having the visions, he immediately drowsed, as if gone into a deep sleep, and this type of sleep he had never experienced before. The dog sat facing him and waiting. The brief day drew to a close in a long, slow twilight. There were no signs of a fire to be made, and besides, never in the dog's experience had it known a man to sit like that in the snow and make no fire. As the twilight drew on, its eager yearning for the fire mastered it, and with a great lifting and shifting of 4 feet, it whined softly, then flattened its ears down in anticipation of being chidden by the man. But the man remained silent. Later the dog whined loudly and still later it crept close to the man and caught the scent of death. This made the animal bristle and back away. A little longer it delayed, howling under the stars that leaped and danced and shone brightly in the cold sky. Then it turned and trotted up the trail in the direction of the camp it knew, where were the other food providers and fire providers. So the man had died, but the dog was sitting beside him. The dog was seeing that how strange it is that it is so much cold, and now twilight has also come. The sun is setting and it is evening time, and there is no fire all around. What has happened to this man? Because the dog could not make out immediately that the man had died. And the dog tried to get up from its 4 feet, and then it whined. Whine means it made a slow sound. But then it thought that the man would chide him. Chide him means scold him. But the man was silent. So the dog, he moved close towards the man, and then it could smell death. Immediately the dog trotted back. It went towards that path where it knew that from this path the camp would occur. The camp would be there, and so he took that trail and went to the camp where other people would be waiting with their food and fire, and they would provide him warmth and food. So this way the story ends up. So this means the man had made a lot of efforts to save himself, but at the end he gave up and died in that bitter sleep. So this way the story finishes. Thank you.